Hello everyone. Hello.
Hi, Lilly.
Hi Dave. So welcome at the Raynor Naturopathic Massage Worldwide podcast. And today we have Dave with us, who has been um, Raynor Massage therapist and teacher for quite some time. So you were just telling me, when did you start?
I am quite old now, you see. So I did my training as a student in 2010, and I started practicing nearly straight away. And I then retrained to teach and started teaching in the UK and Ireland in 2015.
Wow, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so you are just a teacher for UK and Ireland, and I know that
Yeah.
you have like more than 200 testimonials on Google with 5 stars. That's pretty amazing.
You know what? I'm genuinely really proud of that. I am. It's because when my students leave a review as well, they're crazy. They don't just click 5 stars. Like they write really nice things, and it's nice because between you and me, I know nobody else. I'm not very good at taking compliments. Like it's something I'm trying to work on. So when people try and say things face to face with me, I really kind of like change the subject. So when people actually write things down, I kind of have to sit and read them, and it's it's a nice way for me to absorb things. So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, well, that shows a lot. I mean, 200 is quite a lot. That's amazing. So well done, even though you don't like taking the good. Cool.
Yeah.
And so I mean, what what do you think? What would you say to someone who would like to learn Raynor massage? Let's dive just right in the middle.
Do you know what? I'm going to take that question and just broaden it ever so slightly because I would actually let's take it to anybody who's thinking of learning massage, okay? Because
Yes.
the truth is, a lot of people, as a starting point, maybe don't know about Raynor massage and we're not looking for it, and they might find my website as one of the options that they consider. So, and I guess I'm going to keep this answered tailored to UK regulations, but I think a lot of the advice I can give probably applies worldwide. But I'm going to keep a lot of the kind of regulations things specific to the UK. So, look, number one, I would say, take a deep breath and don't overcomplicate it. And the truth is, so many other training providers, for some reason, try to really overcomplicate something which is actually quite simple and straightforward. I mean, one of the very first things I say in my lessons is this isn't hard. Like giving a massage isn't difficult. I mean, it's just touching somebody. Like it's really not complicated. It's one human applying a pressure to another human to help them find and release their tension. Like we're not doctors. We're not giving people medical diagnoses. We're not offering treatment advice. You know, there's people that are much cleverer than I that do all of that stuff. You know, but in the same way that doctors aren't massage therapists, I'm not a doctor. So let's really simplify it down, first of all, and not overcomplicate it.
Mhm.
I would then say to people, decide what type of therapist you want to be before you even start looking for your training course, and decide about the type of people you want to help. And again, a lot of people really overcomplicate this. And this is how I've simplified it in my head. I actually think there's only two types of massage. Okay, you've got your beauty therapy, pampering style treatment, which is kind of bordering on a sensual experience. I don't mean sexual. I just mean people just go to be rubbed in a way that feels nice. Normally, while they're lying in a darkened room, listening to dolphins, covered in fluffy towels, having a lovely time. Okay, sometimes they have a lovely time. Okay, so you've got that type of massage where there might probably where you're not really trying to help people in a therapeutic sense. You're just pampering them, allowing them to fall asleep for a time while you rub them in a way that feels nice. Okay. And then you have every other type of massage, which is therapeutic, which is trying to help people get rid of their tension. And That comes in all kinds of shapes and sizes, anything from, shiatsu to Thai to Raynor. In this country, a lot of people call deep tissue massage sports massage. But ultimately, all of these treatments ultimately have got the same goal, which is to help people find and remove their tension. So I would say decide which type of therapist you want to be. Now, it's possible to be both, but actually I think a mistake that people make is thinking that when they become a massage therapist, that means that they have to be able to massage anybody who wants a massage. And actually, and that means that they have to adapt what they do to suit anybody. And actually, no. Do your thing, be really good at that thing, send the message out there, and hopefully the people who want the thing that you do will then come for it. So decide the type of people you want to help. Decide the type of massage the therapist you want to be. Also decide if you want to earn money from this. That's important, because the truth is, you're generally not going to earn a lot of money being a beauty therapy style massage. Doing it privately, so your own home clinic, it's not the thing that people come for lots of repeat visits for. They see it as a treat now and then. And they won't pay a lot of money for it compared to somebody who's offering something much more therapeutic. And if you end up doing that in a spa, where they do charge big bucks, well, it's not the therapist who's earning the big bucks, it's the spa who's earning the big bucks. So decide whether you want to earn a decent amount of money or not. And so work out all of these things first. Then I would also say that for some reason, so in the United Kingdom, massage is not regulated by the government.
Okay.
I believe it's the same where you are in New Zealand. I actually taught my first course in New Zealand in Auckland and Ramsbay. I did. And I believe that the regulations were pretty much the same. I don't know whether much has changed then, but a great starting point is there really isn't any regulations. And a lot of people again get quite horrified by this, but I also say, look, how's that even going to work? Like, right now, anybody could give somebody a massage. Like a husband and wife, a husband's got a sore back, he could get his brother or his wife or his mum to give his back a rub, to rub it so it feels better. Like, to try and legislate that, I just think would be utterly insane. Right? How can you stop people giving somebody a massage? Okay. So a starting point is there is no regulation. Now, if you want to massage professionally, then you need to be covered by insurance. So you want to be covered by professional indemnity insurance. So I guess in some ways, it's not exactly regulation, but that's where things begin to get a little bit tightened, because the insurance companies are not going to insure you unless you have appropriate training and qualifications that they recognise. So that's where I would get people's brain to start thinking like that. So you need to choose a training course first of all that's going to be recognised by the insurance companies that will allow you to get insured. And in the UK, that rules out all the online training courses. The insurance companies don't recognise that, and kind of like one-day afternoon courses are not going to recognise that in order to give you.
And what about Raynor? What about Raynor in the UK?
Oh, absolutely. All stages of Raynor, the insurance companies recognise. So even my 5-day certificate course that I have here, people can go and get fully insured, and they can start massaging people. So now, just a little quirky UK thing in London, and it's pretty unique to London. A lot of the local council run boroughs want therapists who are offering from a premises, so either working from your own home or you're going to rent out a treatment room. They want that building to have a special treatment license. It's a little bit of a quirky UK thing. It doesn't happen outside the UK. So I'm actually sitting in my treatment room where I live in Hastings, which is in the south coast of England. And where I live in Hastings, there's absolutely zero regulations and there's no council involvement with anything, but it would be slightly different if I live in London. So in London, if you do my level 3 training course, then that makes you exempt from getting the special treatment license. So that's just one other little thing. And the other thing that I would say to people before they begin is have a think about, are you wanting to be employed by somebody or do you want to work for yourself and run your own business? Now, again, it's possible to do both. I'm not saying it has to be strictly one or the other, but generally most people ultimately would want to do one or the other. And it's important to try and think about that first, because that actually will often dictate the training course that you do. Because if you're going to work for somebody else, then you have to satisfy that individual employer's requirement of what they want you to be qualified in. That often might not be what you want. And of course, there's no, not all employers are the same, because lots of different employers have got different requirements and they've got different, training providers that they want, different styles of massage that they recognize. So now, but I also try and put people off from wanting to be employed. Now, I don't know what it's like outside the UK. I think in America, it's actually much more of a better profession. But here in the UK, it's extremely low paid. If you go and work in a beauty salon as a therapist, a massage therapist, it's just above minimum wage. It's maybe something like 12, 15 pounds an hour. And the problem is,
wow,
yeah, it's really a low paid thing to be employed by somebody, because the person who needs to make the money is the owner of the building, the person who's paying to have the lights on, the person who's paying for the heating, the person who's paying to advertise everything, the person who's paying for the rent of the place and any licenses and all of that, all of that type of thing. So if somebody's paying 60 or 70 pounds for a massage, the therapist is only going to get a very small amount of that, which means in order for them to earn anything that's reasonable, then they have to do a full day. They have to do like 8 hours of massage a day, or they have to do whatever comes in, So they might look at what's booked in, and it will be, okay, well, somebody's booked. Okay, I've got 3 full bodies to do. I've got 1 head and shoulder to do. I've got 2 foot and ankles, and I've got a facial. Like that could be their day's work, and then they have to go back into work again tomorrow and do the whatever's in, and then the next day and the next day. Now, it's possible I might have invented this, but I can't remember where I found this fact from. But it's my understanding that the average working life of an employed beauty therapy style massage therapist in the UK is about 5 years. It's about 5 years, because they just literally lose the will to live, and physically it becomes too tough to do that amount of treatment. Look, I'm going to be 50 next year, and I'm at the stage now where I want to be doing about 3 hours of massage a day. That's about right for me, and I do that 4 or 5 days a week. So that means that I need to be able to charge enough money for each of these clients to satisfy, my extravagant lifestyle that I don't have. So, and you can only really do that when you are working for yourself and actually earning the money. So when somebody gives me money for a massage, that money is going to me. It's not going to anybody else. That's so.
And is it easy to be self-employed in UK or Ireland? Yeah,
it's so easy.
All right, good.
Like all you have to do is tell the tax office that you're going to be self-employed, and they'll give you a unique tax reference, and every year you just have to submit, work out what you've earned and submit a tax return, and it's really not any more complicated than that. And it's no more complicated for a self-employed massage therapist than it would be a self-employed bricklayer.
That's
Or
great.
a self-employed. Yeah, it's really straightforward.
Yeah.
And it's great. There's nothing, and the government, thankfully, keeps its nose out of regulation and so on, and doesn't. All it wants is my tax every year or every month,
Yeah.
and it's really not. It's really not interested too much about.
Oh,
that.
really? Oh, that's good.
About anything else. No, sorry, it's interested in my tax. Don't get me wrong. It's not interested in anything above that. Is what I mean. Now, so let's rewind to your question. What advice would I give to somebody is, first of all, before you start even looking, think about all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of people who call me as a starting point, and they've not even considered these things. They've not even considered where they see themselves at the end of the training course, where they envisage themselves, starting out. One mistake that people make is they think, oh, well, what I'll do is I'll just be employed by somebody at the beginning to build up my experience. And then it's the biggest single mistake. Actually, it's not, it's the second biggest mistake that people make when they start out. It's because that type of environment and that beauty salon style of thing is soul destroying. It's soul destroying. And plus, the type of customers that you get are very different to the type of clients that you're going to get working for yourself.
That's right.
And what I mean by that is this. I've invented this thing. I don't know whether it's true or not, again, but I've invented this thing. I call them the click people. In the beauty salons, you get the clicks, okay? I tell you what I mean. So the name of my business is Dave Taylor Deep Tissue Therapeutic Massage. It's got my name above there. You go through my website and you go through my booking system and you read about what I offer. There's a big photograph of my ugly face there. People know that they're coming to see Dave Taylor because it's got my name above the business. People know the type of treatment that they're having to have. Now, here's the great thing. See all the people who don't want to be massaged by Dave Taylor, or they don't want deep tissue therapeutic massage. None of them will come because that's literally the name of my business. So I filter out all the people who don't want what I have to offer before they even arrive. And that's fantastic because I don't want these people. Why would I want somebody who doesn't want to be massaged by a guy? Why would I want to be massaged by somebody who doesn't want deep tissue massage or doesn't want the type of approach that I have? I wouldn't want to have these people as clients in the same way that they wouldn't want any of the things that I have to offer. Which means that by the time a client comes to me, they've made a conscious decision that they want everything that I have. So then actually all I have to do is deliver. That's it. If I can use a bit of a swear word, I just have to not be shit and deliver and meet their expectations. That's it. That's all I have to do because they're already on board to some extent. I then just have to deliver. But in a beauty salon environment, it's not like that. Most of the time, people book a treatment. So let's call it a full body massage, right? So they'll book a full body massage at, Brenda's beauty salon. But they're not booking with the individual therapist. They often won't know who they're going to be treated by until they turn up, which means they've got no investment in that person. They've not bought into them as a human being. They're just somebody who's going to deliver. And very often they come in with that kind of like, just rub this, rub my shoulder, rub it harder, do this, do that. And they speak to that person like they're a robot. And then the person just ends up having to put their thumbs rubbing this tight spot on their shoulder for an hour because that's what the click person's demanded of them to do. And they're not allowed to shine or blossom or actually take control of the situation and assert themselves as a highly trained professional who actually has got a really good approach on how to help that person. They're never allowed to do that or to shine doing that, which means that people spend all this money on training, they will end up working in a salon and be treated quite badly, don't have enough money, become hungry and poor and demoralised, and then end up going back to work in a supermarket thinking this wasn't for me. And ultimately, it's all because of bad decisions that they've made that's led to that choice. So decide what you want to do. Do you want to work for yourself? Do you want to have your own clients? Do you want to have control of the type of people that you massage and earn your own money, or do you want to go and work for somebody else? Now, if you want to work for somebody else, then I would say, fine, fair enough, fine. Not everybody's an entrepreneur, not everybody's ever going to be able to run their own business. Then you have to go and ask that, find out who you want to work for, find out what type of massage training they recognise, and go and get trained in that. Go and get trained in that. If you want to work for yourself, then find something that you're really passionate about. Find something that you're really passionate about, find a technique that really talks to you, and find a style of training that really works for you, and go and do that. So you've got the choice of that. What I would say makes Raynor Massage different, and maybe specifically my style of teaching it, is, and I learned so much of this from the great man, Brandon Raynor himself. You know, one of his taglines is so important when he talks about, we're going to teach you everything that you need and nothing that you don't. And this is where so many Western training providers get this wrong. They get the balance wrong. They have to spend day after day in a classroom studying, you know, anatomy and physiology and grit, where they have to, like, I'm not saying anatomy and physiology isn't important. Okay. Obviously, you need to know where the spine is. You need to know where how the body's configured in order to give somebody a great massage. But what you don't need to learn is a new language. You don't have to memorize all the names of the muscles in Latin in order to give somebody a great massage. So why would I want to pay somebody to teach me something that I'm never going to use and is irrelevant to my life? So to put it into perspective, in my career, I've definitely massaged well over, I mean, much more probably, but well over 2,000 individual clients. Now, during my entire career, I've never had a Latin speaking client, ever. So I've never had to speak Latin with any of my clients. The type of language, I've had loads of clients who don't have English as a first language, which is fine, but I've never had any Latin speaking clients. So the type of language that I use with my clients are, you know, words like shoulder and arm and wrist, and this is tight, and this is a bit sore, and my neck's stuck. That's the type of language that I use. So that's why we don't go down that actually quite intense academia road. It's why from day one of the training, we're actually getting stuck in, and people are actually doing the really important thing of massaging somebody, of actually making contact, because that's the hard bit for people often. People who have never done this before is getting over actually touching another human being, you know. And I still work skin to skin with my clients. I do a lot of oil massage, so I work skin to skin. So actually, that's the important stuff. And you know, one other thing I would add to this is, you're never going to learn to be a good massage therapist in the classroom. Right? I can teach you how to massage. I can teach you how to massage, but the only way to become a good massage therapist is to start doing it.
Yeah.
Practice. But I mentioned 2 mistakes. Another mistake that people make is they get too involved with the practicing on not real people. So they open it out initially just to friends and family. Oh, I'm just going to practice on my friends and family. This is often the second death toll for your career as a massage. It doesn't work. It really doesn't work with regards to getting experience and boosting your confidence, because the truth is, all you're doing is you're giving Brian across the road a massage who doesn't respect you as a massage therapist, because all of a sudden they've just seen you as Dave the barman who's gone to do a training course for a week or 2 weeks and now says he's a massage therapist. And you're trying to expect all of these people to respect you as a professional in such a short space of time.
So what would you say? Yeah. So what would you say to your students? What would you tell them then if it's not the best idea to start on friends and family? How would you tell them to start then?
Okay. Break your massage into 2 ways. First of all, find yourself what I call a lump of meat to practice on. So this is a volunteer. So this is a friend or family. This could be your husband, your wife, one of your kids, you know, a relative, your next door. So this is somebody who you're just practicing on. Okay, you're not even going to give them a full massage. I give all of I've actually recorded online training videos, so everything that I teach in my course, the students have on video to watch and practice with. So I would say to my students, stick the video on, it's on YouTube, watch that, and follow along, practicing, till you get stuck, press pause, practice some more, rewind. Right. So you've got that. And then at the same time as doing that, I don't mean at the exact same time, but within the same time, you know, period, start massaging on people who are paying you professionally, right from the beginning. Right, like I did my first paid massage. So one of the stories I tell is I got my diploma on the Friday. I gave my first professional massage on the Saturday. I opened up the clinic that I still have to this day. I've now got 2 premises I work from on the Monday. So I didn't mess around. I started working on real paying clients right from the beginning in mind. And this style of training, Brandon Raynor's training course, gives people everything they need to do that. Now, are you going to be an amazing massage therapist at the beginning? Of course not. Of course not. Yeah. Are you going to be seamless? And are you going to be constantly dropping the bottle of oil? And you know, are you going to get confused about left and right? Are you going to massage the same arm twice? More than likely, I did all of these things, right? All of these things. But I was still working. But nothing I did was so terrible that it wasn't worth the money that I was charging at that time. And the truth is, I genuinely believe that somebody doing Raynor Massage, even at the beginning of their career, when they're a little bit clumsy, is going to give a more effective treatment than somebody who's been trained to do a routine in a beauty clinic who's been doing it for 20 years. Now, the person who's been doing it 20 years will be slick and they won't drop the oil and they'll have their routine perfected and so on. But when it comes to what they won't be doing is working into your hands or your feet in any great detail, which is an absolute criminal offence to avoid these areas. They won't be working probably deep into the sacrum. They won't be working deep into the head. They won't be working with your breath to help you release your tension and stir up any emotion. They won't be doing any of that stuff, which all of my students can do from day one. Now, they might not be amazing at it, but the only way to get amazing is because I say to my students, I could keep you here in class for a year. Okay, I could keep you teaching you. I mean, actually, I couldn't. I would literally lose the will to live, and I'd run out of things. But let's say in theory, I could teach you for a year. Mm-hmm. Even after that year, you're then still going to have to go and do your first professional massage with a paying person, and that's going to be as daunting as it is doing it after 10 days with me, then it will be. You're doing it for the first time, and you're going to be as inexperienced doing that because you haven't done it. You know, like the only way to get experience is to do that. So I say to people, don't get bogged down with a whole family and friends type thing, and actually add into the mix your family and friends, because they're not respecting you as a massage therapist, and probably because you're not respecting yourself by offering it out very cheaply. You're saying to yourself, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll just charge like £20 now, and I'll build up my business and my confidence, and then when I've got that, I'll put it up to £60 or £70, right? That doesn't work, because you've not put any value on it. You're just saying it's worth 20 quid. Which means, but then insanely, you're expecting other people to put a value on the thing that you're offering, even though you're not doing it yourself. And then people treat you badly. So what I mean by that is, because they don't really value it, they're like, you've booked them in for 7, but they don't turn up at 7 because they just got a little bit busy, and they turn up at 7:20. And you're like, oh, don't worry about it, because you're so grateful they're there. Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. So again, you're treating yourself badly by doing that, which means, I've got boundaries with things like that, especially with my timekeeping. People book a time with me. They book, I don't know, say between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And I will work hard to make sure I'm really present, that I've cleared my mind, that I'm in a good physical shape, that I'm ready there, I've got the room warm, I've done everything. I'm going to be there at 2, and I'm going to finish at 3, regardless of what time my clients choose to turn up for their appointment. It's their choice, whatever time they book it with me. But people get this wrong from the beginning. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm so glad you're here. I'll be able to make up your time. When you do that to people, do you think they're going to reward your kind heart and your lovely nature by being on time for the next appointment? Of course they're not. You've already trained them that it's okay to abuse you and your timekeeping by being okay with them being 15 minutes late. So next time they'll be 20 minutes late. Right. And then probably the time after that, they just won't turn up at all. They'll cancel last minute, and then you'll still be acting like this is okay. And then eventually what you do, if you're that type of person, you'll put yourself into victim mode, and you start crying because everybody's treating you badly and people won't turn up and everybody's running late, and you blame everybody else other than yourself, whereas the only person to blame is yourself for allowing people to do that and to doing that for yourself. And then you end up walking back at the supermarket again. So no, start. Look, when I started in 2010, this is one of the things I tell my students. I'm very honest with my students. I had my clinic ready when I was still doing my training course. I was determined to make this work. So I had my clinic ready. I had my website launched, which was crazy. I had signs above the door. And I was turning up, looking at this business, knowing full well that I was nowhere near at the standard that I was projecting to the world at that point, because I'd never done it before. So we have a phrase, I'm sure it's worldwide, which is called fake it before you make it. And honestly, I think it's sometimes the only way to do it. So what I had to do, because in my head, what I'd done was I'd launched my business and I threw it out to the universe. And then what I had to do was quickly run after it to catch up with it, to be that good. And the only way to do that was to practice on real paying clients. And for a short time, pretend that I was that person that I was pretending to be. And then eventually, I hope that I did turn into that. And it didn't take long, by the way, handful of weeks of just going through it and treating people and building up that experience and that confidence. So
I would like to come back a little bit. When you started your journey, like why did you choose Raynor Massage? How did that happen in your life? It's because it's such a special technique.
Here's the story, right? So I mentioned I'm going to be 50 next year. And I've only been doing this for 15 years, so I had a whole new career before this. I'll be honest with you, I worked in entertainment, so I worked in what we call holiday camps here in the UK. I worked in holiday hotels overseas, so I was that annoying person that was pulling you off your sun lounger to go and play, table tennis competition or do a quiz in the evening or go on a pub crawl. And then I ended up working on cruise ships.
Right.
I spent 20 years of my life working in entertainment, partying way too hard. I'm very honest about this. So I had an issue with alcohol, I had an issue with drugs, I had an issue with all kinds of things. And I don't think I slept for about 20 years. And I thought I was having an amazing time.
Good.
I'd also been very blessed with good health. I'd never really had to use doctors or hospitals for it. I had my tonsils out as a kid, other than the occasional, bit of a cold or something. I've been pretty healthy all my life, and actually quite fit and well. And everything changed. So I was living and working in Spain. I was managing entertainment across some hotels, and the very long story short is I had a very serious car crash. Like you see in the movies, when the car stopped spinning, which it was launched over a cliff edge. There was a 250-foot drop below me. I was literally crumpled up against the windscreen. I couldn't get out the driver's door because there was nothing but air below me. The car was leaking. My whole face was staring into the abyss. I genuinely thought I was going to die. And I was very resigned to that. I didn't die, and I hope, because this would be a very odd conversation. This would be a whole different thing. I managed to access the car jack from the boot. I managed the parcel shelf had come loose, and I used that to break the back window, and I got out. Now, amazingly, I didn't even lose a drop of blood from what I remember. I didn't break any bones, but I had very bad whiplash. And so this was the start of my whole life changing. So the first way it changed was I began to realize how limited a lot of Western healthcare is when it comes to stuff like this. Like, I want to be very clear, I am not anti-Western. I've actually had we have the NHS, our healthcare system here in the UK. I've actually had to use it a lot over the last few months. I badly injured my hand, which was quite unfortunate. I'm just healing from that. I ended up with 13 stitches. I had 3 operations. I had such an amazing service. I'm just back at work now. I had such an amazing service from the NHS. And if I got cancer, I'd be the first in line saying, give me whatever drugs are available. So I'm not anti it in any shape or form. But when it came to this, a sore neck whiplash, honestly, I was sent to a physio who didn't even touch me. They just gave me some stretching exercises to do, and they gave me a load of drugs. And some of the drugs back then were things like diazepam, Valium, and for somebody who already had issues with substances and so on, it was not a good thing to give me, and I just became fully dependent on this pain relief.
Wow.
I couldn't get relief from the pain. I had such a sore neck for, forever, years. So I began to pay privately. I began to go and see chiropractors and osteopaths and massage therapists. I was still traveling and working, and wherever I would go to, I would try and find somebody who could take the pain away. And I really struggled. And then eventually, I just randomly booked a massage when I was in London. And when I turned up, I discovered that the therapist, was doing Raynor Massage. I'd never heard of it. I didn't particularly book. I just booked a deep tissue massage, and she told me about Raynor, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. That was it. Then she started the massage, and it was unlike any massage I'd ever had before. The main thing I noticed from the beginning was that every move, even from the beginning, felt like it had a purpose. Nothing was wasted. There was none of this, oh, we're just about to do the bit. There was no touching for the sake of it, no rubbing for the sake of it. Everything seemed to have a purpose. She wasn't working as part of a routine. She just seemed to connect to me, whatever that means, both emotionally, spiritually, physically, and treated the parts of the body that needed to be treated. And it wasn't always the bits that I was expecting. It was then that I actually began to realize how much I was holding on my hands and my thumb that was connected to here. It was the first time nobody had ever done that before. And I loved the treatment, and I felt some relief, and I came back, and it was on the 4th treatment, but what happened next on this 4th treatment hadn't been discussed. There'd been no discussion of this being even a possibility. And she was massaging me, and she was working deeper into my neck than nobody had done before. Into the area that caused me the most pain. I used to dream of finding somebody who would work into my neck. I would dream of finding somebody who would, like, I honestly wanted somebody to get their elbow and shove, and nobody, whenever I told them about my neck issue, everybody was scared of it. She wasn't. She got right in there, working, holding the points, making me breathe into it. And then suddenly I was connected to the car crash in a way that I'd never been before. I realised I'd pushed so much of it down. I remembered details, like really, I remember the song that was playing on the radio. It was Take That, by the way, highly recommend it. That was playing as the car was spinning. I remembered my feelings when I was staring down. And a lot of grief came up, it's coming up. A lot of grief came up, a lot of emotion came up. Still does for me, so that makes me now to this day a little bit when I read my back there. A lot of stuff, oh, hang on. A lot of trauma that had been associated with that experience got released. And I didn't have a sore neck anymore.
Yeah, I love it.
It was gone. It was gone. Like, look, am I saying I never have? Of course not. I've mentioned my age a few times. I've got aches and pains, you know, but I don't think I've got any more than the clients that I treat who didn't have that car crash and that accident. And that gave me the freedom to live my life. And I was absolutely overwhelmed by, I was honestly, the way I just saw it was, oh my God, you've just fixed me just by using your hands. That's it. How amazing. No drugs, no nothing, just by using your hands. How amazing is that? And I just thought, I want to do this. I want to help other people have less tension in their bodies in the same way that you have. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not like completely altruistic. By that point, I was lost in my life and I wanted to run my own business. I wanted to take control of my finances. I also wanted to have a job that I could be proud of. I wanted to be proud of myself, and I wanted all of these things. And I just suddenly saw the light. I was like, this is what I want to do. And I asked her where she trained, and I then signed up on the same training course that I now teach. I did the certificate and the diploma back to back. I got my diploma on the Friday. I did my first professional massage on the Saturday. I opened up my clinic on the Monday, and I haven't stopped since. I'm now fully clean from alcohol and drugs and have been for a very long time, so I guess you want to call it in recovery from all of that. I still have an addictive personality, but I've absolutely thrown that into a force of good. So I've thrown it into my business, into my work, into my passion for helping other people learn this stuff and for teaching. You know, when I'm teaching people, I always say, like, honestly, teaching you the massage stuff, it's not hard. Teaching you how to be a massage therapist, that's the hard bit. That's what I'm going to teach you. The business of massage, the psychology of massage, understanding why people come for treatment. It's very often not for the reasons that I thought I was going for massage because I had a stiff neck. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a great example. I thought because I had neck pain was the reason I was going for massage. What I didn't realize was that I was emotionally blocked and I was living in a state of denial about my entire life, and that I was masking everything through alcohol and drugs. Didn't realize any of that stuff. I knew I needed something, but I didn't quite know what or why or how. And I ended up booking a treatment. And actually, I'm going to teach people when I'm on my courses how to work with people like that, how to ask the right questions, you know, how to read between the lines, how to listen to the things that people aren't telling you. I always think that's important. Listen to the things that people aren't telling. You
mean your clients when to listen to your clients? Yeah.
My clients. So a great example, I'll give you my secrets away here, but when I sit with my clients, first thing I do is I get to fill out a health form, a questionnaire form, make sure there's no contraindications. very often they've told me one of the reason why they're there. In the first place, they might have said, I've got a bad back, I've got a sore neck, or I've been dealing with stress, or whatever, okay? So they fill out the form, and we discuss any contraindications that they might have. They sign it and they date it, put that down. Then, take a breath. And the first question I ask them is, so why are you here today? What brings you here today? Now, sometimes, a lot of the time, they just repeat what they've told me. That's fair enough. Oh, I've got a sore neck or whatever. You know. Sometimes they look at me like I'm a bit silly. Like, haven't we just discussed that? You know, so they'll just be a bit. And I get out of that by saying, yeah, okay, I get that, but what made you book the appointment today? Has it just suddenly got worse? Or, you know, so I get out of it that way. But the reason I ask that question is very often I get brand new information that I never had before. So, for example, I had a guy not that long ago, and he had mentioned insomnia on his form, but we hadn't talked about it in any great detail. And he'd never been for treatment before. He's a man in his 50s. He worked in the building trade, and this was all quite new to him. And I asked him, you know, so what brings you here today? And then, I'm going to get affected by this too, and then he just explained to me that his wife was in end-of-life palliative care. So she had maybe 3 to 6 weeks left to live. Mm-hmm. He had 2 teenage daughters, mm-hmm. Who were about to lose their mother. He was about to lose the only woman that he's ever loved. Mm-hmm. And, like, you're not sleeping? Like, of course you're not sleeping. The fact that you're even dressing yourself and functioning is amazing. And he needed something more than his tight shoulder sorted. And he kind of knew that, but he didn't even know how to quantify that or put that into words. And for some reason, he was drawn to me as a therapist and to Raynor Massage. And, you know, he got the treatment that he needed on that day and the approach that he needed. So I'm always teaching my students to really understand that very often the reasons why people think they come for treatment isn't the actual, there's something that's going on as part of a bigger picture often within people's lives that they need help for, and sometimes they don't know that themselves.
Yeah, and this type of massage, I mean, Raynor Massage is so holistic. It brings so much emotions, and you know, you relieved your own accident, and that is so frequent. It happens so many times, and it's so important to be able to talk with your clients, because they are lost sometimes. Like, maybe if you want to talk about a healing crisis, because that can be quite daunting for a student for the first time experiencing themselves, or even witnessing a healing crisis. Maybe if you want to touch base on that.
Yeah, so when I did my training course, I don't think I was fully attentive when the healing crisis part was being taught. I'm being very honest here. Mm-hmm. Prior to, one thing I forgot to, like, I was working on a North Sea oil rig when I got into that type of environment. If you'd spoken to me about energy and emotion and all of that type of stuff, I was really a bit Neanderthal with a lot of that. I was, okay. And even though I'd gone through it myself, I was still in a bit of denial. And when I was doing my training course, I was like, can we just stop talking about that? Can you show me how to work into the shoulder, please? Right? I was a bit like that. And I saw people having emotional release and so on in the training course. And even though I'd gone through it myself, I was still not, I still hadn't really got my head around it fully. It actually just took practice with my own clients to fully understand the process. Now, unfortunately, because of my misunderstanding of it, it did, as we talk in our handbook, unfortunately end some well-intentioned healing programs because my client didn't understand exactly what's going on and I didn't understand it fully. So a healing crisis, we're talking about just that process of having to feel worse before you get better.
Mm-hmm.
That process of we store things up in our body. So that could be emotions that we store up, or it could be toxins that we store up. And then something like massage or reflexology or going to yoga or whatever can help release this. It can trigger that getting well. And it's like, we might put the toxins in gradually throughout our lives, drip feed them in, and then all of a sudden through breathing, through the massage and getting the blood flowing, that boom, everything gets released at once. And that can make us feel ill. That can make us feel nauseous, and our skin can erupt, and we can have bad dreams. And from an emotional point of view, it can bring a lot of unprocessed emotional stuff to the surface and to be released. And for a lot of people, that can be really daunting. Mm-hmm. But actually, once you understand it, it doesn't have to be daunting at all. Because quite frankly, all you're doing with that stuff is letting it go. That's right. How amazing is that? All of that emotional stuff, no. You don't even have to address what the emotion is. You don't even have to, because the truth is, you've probably been addressing it for the last 20 years, round and round and round. And the one thing, and you might have gone to therapy for the last 20 years and addressed it, but the one thing you haven't done is released it.
Yeah.
So you've done everything else.
Yeah, the mind wants to remember. The mind wants to remember, wants to rationalize everything, but actually, yeah, we don't need to remember, or we don't. Yeah, as it can be a twitch or something, and then it's released, and voila.
Yeah, just let it go. So being able to help people let go of toxins they've been holding or repressed emotions is such a gift. It's such a gift. It's nothing to be scared of. And again, from a massage therapist point of view, even though it can appear daunting, again, it's not difficult. You just support the client throughout that process. What does that mean? It means often what they don't need, actually, during that is cups of teas and cuddles. They just need encouragement to let it go. Often you need to carry on doing the thing that you've been doing that's triggered the release in the first place, because finally they found a therapist that's able to shove their elbow deep into their hips where they've been holding all of that grief and emotion. They have to be supported, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally, reassured that you're doing great. Hey, you're doing great. Just let it go. Take a deep breath. Breathe. Let it go. And actually, what I often do as a therapist is I'll quite quickly bring just a little bit of human humor into that, because it can feel a little bit awkward between client and, when I say a bit of humor, I mean just something like, I'm really glad I stocked up on tissues today. Just something, because that's what that person needs as well. They need a little bit of, this. I'm just been crying in front of a complete stranger, and actually I just want to let them know that it's fine and it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because actually having a giggle is often as good a release as having, letting go of, really deep grief as well. Very interesting, actually. Again, when I'm teaching, I say to my students, don't be fooled by a laugh or a giggle. If a client starts giggling or laughing during a treatment, within a split second, that can suddenly go to them releasing grief and tears. It's often the giggling and the laughing is the beginning of the release, and then it flicks to an outpouring of emotion. So don't be fooled by that.
Absolutely. Wow, thank you. So, I know we touched base at the beginning of the interview, but what would be the tip? What would you, someone that is interested in learning this specific technique, what would you tell them? Yeah.
Okay, look, this is going to sound a bit of a sales gimmick, and it probably is to some extent, but I tell you a tagline that I've got when I'm trying to convince people to do this is the right thing for them. Here, but this is truthful too. I have never knowingly had a student who's regretted doing my training, ever. But I've had so many students who have regretted putting it off and not doing it earlier. The amount of people who have told me, who have finally done my training, that they've been thinking about it, not for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but for 4 years. They've literally been saying, I've been stalking you and your website and your social media, and I've been thinking about it and giving myself a whole load of reasons why I shouldn't do it, or why it's not the right time, and why this isn't right. So actually, I think this was the question that you asked. A bit of advice I would say is, honestly, just do it. If you're even slightly interested in it, just do it. And stop talking yourself out of it. And if you're waiting for the perfect time, stop fooling yourself, because there will never be the perfect time. There will always be a time where you have to abandon your kids for a week, or your dog, or whatever it happens to be, to actually prioritize yourself and your own well-being and what's right for you. So number one, as I would just say, if you're really thinking about doing it, do it. Put the deposit down and do it, and make it work. Secondly, well, not secondly, I would also say, like, genuinely to my students, to people who are thinking of training with me, I'm an open book. I have on my website, davetaylortraining.co.uk, a list of graduates who have chosen to be added to my graduate list. Now, there's probably only about 10% of all the people who have trained with me that are on it for various reasons, but go and book a Raynor Massage. Go and speak to somebody who's doing my training. I've got nothing to hide. There's no con here. You give me the money and I'm going to deliver something amazing. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to deliver something that's going to be absolutely life-changing for you. That's what I'm going to do. And if you don't believe me, go and speak to somebody else who has done it. Go and read my online reviews. You know, go and read the reviews, read what other people have said about my training. And by the way, if you're thinking of going to train with somebody else, make sure they provide that information. If you're choosing a different training provider, make sure you can speak to graduates of that training course, lots of them. Mm-hmm. Make sure that they're giving you that information openly. Make sure that they've got good reviews, and lots of them. Do all of these things, and if they don't, ask yourself why. What do they have to hide? Why haven't they done that? Why aren't they prioritizing that? Who are all these people that have done the training that you've never been heard of? Where are they practicing? Why are they hiding? Why aren't these people singing and shouting about it? So yeah, put in the effort.
Yeah.
Do your research.
Yeah.
And talk to me. Talk to me. I'll get. By the way, if it's not right for you, I'll tell you. If I don't think you're a right match for me or my training, I will tell you as well. Don't be scared if you have no experience.
Right.
Often the people who struggle most on my course are people who have trained elsewhere. Because what they're having to do, because I'm going to teach them a whole new way of massage and a whole new approach. I'm really going to piss them off, because I'm going to get them to rethink everything. I'm going to get this idea of a routine out their head, get this idea of a full body massage. What's all that about? Get that out. Or I don't sell a full body massage, I sell a Raynor massage, and you can book a period of time with me. You can book an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours. I'm never promising do I do full body? Absolutely, lots of the time, but only if it's the right thing to do for that client at that moment in time. Get rid of all of these notions from your head, and it can be very difficult for people who have had that training. It can be very difficult for people to understand that we have to work at the extremities first, that we have to clear the tension from the hands and the head. That there's a lot of importance in working into the hips and the sacrum and into the stomach, and to try and get people to sit and massage fingers, and what's all that about a finger? You know, can't we just do the back because it feels nice? So it's not been unusual. I've had people who have had some experience before not listening to me properly on day 1 and 2, and they just start doing everything that they've done before in my class because they think they already know how to massage. And then the people who have never done it before, who have got zero experience, are listening to every word that I'm saying. I'm learning the stuff that I'm teaching them. And then what happens is, on day 3 or 4 of the training course, the person who had the previous experience suddenly gets a massage from somebody who's brand new and realizes that it's better than anything that they've ever done before. And not only that, that they don't know how to do it because they haven't been listening. and then they're in catch-up mode. Then they're like, Dave, I've been an arse. Can you show me how to do the fingers again, please? Can you show me how to release attention to the thumb? What's that back sweep you were doing that I wasn't paying attention to? So don't be scared if you don't have any experience. My favourite students are the ones who have never done this before. And if you have got previous experience, don't be scared of that too. But just, you know, I say to these people, you've got previous experience, just for this training course, forget about it. Mm-hmm. Learn what I'm going to teach you first. Learn that. And then at the end of the course, then you can decide what you want to do. And probably it will be a combination of all of it. You'll do some of the stuff that you've already been taught. You combine it with what I'm going to teach you, and brilliant. You'll be a great massage therapist. But if you switch your mind off and don't learn the stuff that I'm going to teach you, then it's kind of pointless. And you'll confuse yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's such a good point that you brought up, because it's fantastic. I think that's going to help a lot of people. So what about, do you have any coming up courses or events or projects coming up?
Yes. So my next I teach in 2 places in the UK. 3 if you include Dublin, in Ireland. Right, so the main place I teach is in London, in a place called Putney. We've got an amazing venue. It's a rowing club that sits right on the River Thames. The building was built in 1860. We use their Great Hall. It's like something out of Harry Potter. It's just this massive big building with a big fireplace at one end, beautiful wooden floors, floor to ceiling windows that look directly onto the River Thames. And I'm teaching there in January. I'm doing my certificate course first, which runs from January the 8th to the 12th. And then the following week, I am doing my diploma course, which is another 5 days worth of training. So let's talk about that actually. So the format of the training, I don't know if it's the same as the way that you guys do it, but this is how I do it. I've got a couple of ways I do it. Starting point, everybody has to do the certificate course, whether you're brand new or whether you've got experience elsewhere. Everybody starts with the certificate course, and generally when I'm teaching in London, that's 5 days. Now, at the end of the certificate course, you will receive a certificate in Raynor Massage, and even that is enough to get you insured, and you're covered to do all the things that you're taught in the certificate course. Nothing more. So, for example, I don't teach pregnancy massage in the certificate course, so you won't be able to do pregnancy massage until you've done further training. Your insurance doesn't change, but your training will change. So you can just do the 5-day certificate course, and that is enough. Even that is enough for you to get insured and to start giving people massages. Now, I do another course, which is the 5-day diploma course, and that teaches you more. That just teaches everything you've been taught in the certificate course and takes it to a more advanced level. It's a bit like, I describe the certificate course as like, it's the main massage, and then the diploma course is all the extra bits that you might need to make you a really good professional massage therapist. So for example, in the diploma course, I teach pregnancy massage. I teach the side of the body and working into the hips, which I don't do in the certificate course, so we concentrate a lot into that. I we have an introduction to aromatherapy, so if you want to blend oils and help people with the power of essential oils. It's funny, I thought when I was a student that aromatherapy was all about fluffy candles and dolphins, but actually it's more about being a scientist. It's about mixing this stuff up and putting a blend that will help, warm up cold muscles, or cool down hot muscles, or help people be more calm, or help people be more alert. So we do an introduction to aromatherapy. We have an introduction to reflexology. I don't know whether you guys do this, but I do a whole series of assisted table stretching, so you can stretch people out on the table. Plus, I do a whole lesson where I go through business stuff, and I go through in great detail my consultation process that I go through with my clients, and my winning formula to get people to make a second booking before they've had the first treatment. So I cover all of that. So first week certificate, second course is diploma. Now, what some people will do, some people will only do my certificate course, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will do my certificate and my diploma back to back. So 1 week, Monday to Friday certificate, weekend off, second week diploma, done. Or some people will do a variation of that where they'll do certificate 1 week, and then they'll have a gap, maybe 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year, and then they'll come back and they'll do the diploma week. So I do that. But I also have a second way of learning. So I've got a residential retreat course. I take over this beautiful farmhouse in the Devon countryside. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's got room for 8 students to sleep, plus myself and my little dog, Daisy, and Oliver, who does all the cooking fresh in the kitchen farmhouse. And I've combined both courses, certificate and diploma, into a really intense 7 days. But the difference being is that there's no ending to the certificate, because it's the same people that are doing certificate and diploma. So we can kind of cut some stuff out, because when I teach a certificate course in London, it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a final exam day and all of that. But actually, when I'm doing it in this way, you only need to have one ending of the course, and we can have longer days because everybody's there, nobody's going to their own homes where people are just sleeping there. So you can do both courses over 7 intensive days with me in a residential environment in North Devon. Plus, I teach in Dublin in Ireland as well. I don't have dates for that for next year, but there will be. So the first course is in January, the 8th in London. I'm doing the Devon retreat in March. Nice. And I'll be going to Dublin. I made a mistake of going in the winter time, and it was just too cold and too much of an effort to get the venue hot every single day. So I'm going to wait till the springtime, late spring, early summer, and then I'll go to Dublin and teach there. And all the other time, I'm working as a massage therapist. So I'm not somebody who just teaches. I'm sitting in my treatment room now. The reason I did a little time check with you, Alex, I've got my first client coming this morning at 9:30 this morning. So I live and breathe this stuff. This is what my job is.
Fantastic.
Actually, I'm a massage therapist, and I run my training courses.
Well, that was so nice to talk with you and learn so much about the way you're teaching, your passion about, and a bit of your background. Is quite. It is quite a cool story. Life is very interesting. When they want us to listen to something, it's like, oh, I'm gonna hit you really hard, and you're gonna wake up.
And that was such a wake-up call for me. I probably would be dead by now, and not because of the car crash, because of what I was doing to my body. Wow. That's the honest truth. Yeah. I would not be alive today if it wasn't for that moment, and actually if it wasn't for this and what I do and the passion that I have. Actually, for life now, to be perfectly honest with you, just a passion for living. I genuinely feel that there was a reason I didn't die that day, and there's a reason that I'm still here, and I'm doing what I can to make up for, the previous stuff, and to try and do a bit of good.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for this interview. That was really nice. And we're going to put in the comments all the all the link
The
to
link.
join. Yeah, and your website. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, but there's not a load on there, but it's all linked from the website.
Yeah. So everything will be in the comments. And yeah, do you have any
Amazing.
last words that you want to say before we leave?
Honestly, I think we've covered so much, but I just want to say thank you so much for you doing this, for you taking the time and the effort to do this. This should have been done a long time ago, and I'm really happy that you've done it. And it's so lovely to meet you. And hopefully one day we can meet in person and not from the opposite ends of the world. Are you north or south? Whereabouts in New Zealand? Are you North or South Island?
South, close to
You're
Queenstown.
down.
Yeah.
Amazing. My niece has emigrated and she lives in New Zealand too, so I'm kind of hoping to maybe get out there at some point and visit.
Yeah.
And,
I can't blame her. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool country.
well, she went traveling. After she finished her education, she went traveling and never came home. And I'm not like she literally never came. She did all the kind of Thailand and Vietnam and Australia and then New Zealand and never came home.
Never came home. Yeah, that's my story too. All right, thank you. Lovely to meeting you. That was so nice.
And you, ta-ra! Bye.
Bye, Dave.